Hi, my name is Peter Lawless, and I would like to take a few minutes of your time to tell you an app I want to build to enable a global network of volunteers, we'll call them Vooglers, who use their skills to fill unmet needs of clients who in turn donate to the Vooglers nominated charities. The app will provide search, scheduling and direct payment to the charities, enabling transparency and governance. So, a bit of the background on how it might work. The model comes from a counselling charity in Bray, where we have about 100 volunteer counsellors who provide low-cost counselling to the unemployed and low-waged, who then in turn donate what they can afford. The rest of the funding for the charity comes from grants and other financial supports, which funds the clinical and admin staff. So we look at a few scenarios how this might work. Let's take Mark. He's a schoolboy and he wants to raise money for cancer research. He doesn't have any funds himself, but he knows of Jim and Mary who are currently cocooning and they need someone to go shopping for them. So he goes off, gets their shopping, gives it to Jim and Mary, who then, through the app, are able to donate, let's say, €10 to cancer research. No money changes hands, and it is completely transparent, and the charity gets the money immediately. Jim and Mary now have what they needed, and Mark feels good about what he did, and he can put that up on social media. The other two examples, I'll leave you read for yourself, and you pause it if you want to, but I'll just keep going to keep this nice and short. So how does it all work? So basically what we actually have is three beneficiaries, or let's say three elements here. So we have the volunteer or the Voogler, a client and a charity. So what the Voogler does is they have certain skills, which as I illustrated in the previous slide, they then do for the client, who then makes a donation through the app to the charity, and the charity in turn will be able to appreciate what the Voogler has done. So all beneficiaries gain from this, and of course the volunteer or Voogler could then put this up on their social media. There could be leaderboards and all of these things itself. Now what I will also show later on in the presentation is that the app can be made to pay for itself, so it's revenue neutral and there's no charges whatsoever. So let's look in more detail at the three stakeholders. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the constant struggle charities always had was fundraising. And now more than ever, the clamour for help and assistance from the disadvantaged is growing in volume. Many people want to help, but how? And you see, not everyone has the skills to volunteer for an organisation, or they mightn't have any spare cash to give to worthy causes. So what we're actually doing is fulfilling clients who have needs and want something done by volunteers who have skills and desires to help. Now what this can actually do for the volunteer is they might be just starting out in a career or starting out and doing something, or they want to put something on their CV, and this will actually help them gain the experience that they need while actually solving a need and raising money for charity at the same time. It also would be very useful in a CV, and of course they can post it on their social media or whatever else elements they'd like to do it. So how does all of this work? So I'm envisaging it working with Google, and there are a myriad of Google tools already in existence which would enable this. So let's say we have a table of volunteers who each have their own skills and jobs, and then the clients who would then search for a skill, find a volunteer who would be within, let's say, an appropriate radius. So the volunteer might put on their thing that they're prepared to travel 10 miles. Using Google Maps, the client would only then see volunteers or Vooglers who were within that 10-mile radius, if that was what they were looking for. So the clients could remain anonymous, and basically what happens is once the volunteer has done the job, you could use NFC or whatever to alert from one phone to the other that it has happened, to automatically generate a payment through Google Pay or Apple Pay, PayPal, NFC, whatever appropriate form, and that goes directly to the charities. Now, what could happen is if charities are raising funds for future, we could actually gather all the funds together into, let's say, a fund that was able to grow in value or work with some fund manager or hedge fund, etc., etc. That's complexity, that's down the line. But bottom line is it creates a complete transparency, simplicity, and efficiency for the volunteers to do the work for the clients, which then enables the skills and jobs to be done. How do we market this? Well, I believe the best way of marketing it is through the volunteers and the clients themselves. So, for example, if I look at the counselling charity in Bray, we have links with football team Bray Wanderers. So we could actually have a day where we show their supporters or at some match how they can do this. They sign up, they click and have Living Life Counselling, which is the charity I'm talking about, as their nominated charity, and they go off and do whatever jobs or bits and pieces need to be done, and the donations then come into Living Life. Also, the fact that when you've done something, you can put up on social media, you can get a review from a client, which will actually help you. We could use some form of gamification with leaderboards. You could have a school whereby there's a competition between classes about who can raise the most money, etc., etc. On the other side, the charities themselves, let's assume this is a stunning success and the charity wants to be on the top of list of charities that somebody might work for, so they could pay a small fee, like for example with Google Ads within the app. And a lot of these things, again, you could have what you call it on the App Store and iTunes, and again you could use some online advertising. So the idea really principally is to ensure the marketing is viral where possible. Has this ever been done before? Not precisely this app, but the concept of giving is not new. So if we look at freecycle.org, which was started by, I think it was 2003, by a guy who had a mattress he wanted to get rid of, and he puts it up and says anyone wants this mattress can come and take it. So it has now become this huge network with over 8 million, nearly 9 million members around the world who basically give stuff away to people who want stuff. Take Google themselves, google.org. I mean, Google volunteers spend more than 200,000 hours with non-profits. Kiva, which provides microfinance to people in the developing world. There are 1.9 million people who have lent 1.45 billion in loans to 3.5 million people who need this. And the great thing about Kiva is you get to see and watch what your loans do and how they change lives. I'm not going to go through all the others, but basically it has been shown through psychology and social psychology that the act of giving makes people feel good. And in Ireland, we are extremely good. You know, we put the money into the concern boxes or the trochra boxes at Lent, and we are known to do this. Here is not necessarily a way of taking from those existing donations, but a way of creating an entirely new brand or a cycle of donations. So obviously, to have an infrastructure behind this is going to cost something. The idea is to have it as cost neutral. So it's obviously set up as a charity. The charities could pay a small annual fee to have it listed. They could actually take out ads within the app to be top of search, and they could pay a small fee for management fees and reporting if they wanted their information and tax bases, etc., etc. Corporations, for example, I worked in IBM, which is 300,000 people globally. Google themselves, Facebook, any of these large corporations, they might want to white label their own version of the app to be able to raise their own different foundation or different charity or fundraising drives, and they could pay a fee for that. So there are many ways that we could pay for the infrastructure so it is cost neutral and doesn't actually cost anything. Let's have some idea of what the impact of this could be. So let's take Ireland as a base, where I'm from, and I'm going to use Facebook as an example. There are 2.5 million Facebook users in Ireland. So if just 5% of them became Vooglers, which is 125,000 people, who did just 1 hour's Voogling a month, that would raise 15 million a year. Extrapolating that globally, there are 2.6 billion Facebook users, and that means that Voogle could actually fund 15 billion worth of additional donations to charity. And that's quite substantial and could help quite a lot of people. And again, I believe those are conservative figures. So if I was to get Google to take this on, and the reason I would like someone like Google is because of your immense reach, you've already got the tools, and of course you already have this whole concept of volunteering. So I would like to work with you guys to put together a team to code it and do everything behind that. Also, in addition, there's a huge amount of information to mine, and again, it could be a promotion of Google Pays. I mean, there's so many different benefits we could look at. Again, you would know an awful lot better than I would how that would actually work. What do I want to get out for it? Well, to be honest, I'm going to use the last one first. It's the realization of my dream to lend some love to the universe. I know Steve Jobs wanted to put a ding in the universe, so that's been my little mantra. I'd like the two charities I'm linked with, which is Living Life Counselling, which is the charity in Bray, because this is where it all came from. We needed to look for a way to raise funds. I'm also a Freemason, and not many people know that the Freemasons in Ireland are the second largest donation to charity. We had pre-pandemic or COVID-19 pandemic, a program called Vision 2020 to raise 1 million for 4 specific charities. So again, I would love to see these two charities take this on board and show that it actually works. The one thing I would like to get out of it is have my name associated with venture, because I'm always coming up with ideas, and I believe I have many more ideas with me. If I was able to say, look what I've already done, and I needed to raise funds for some other charity or do something else along those lines, I would love to be able to look back on this as a success and something I've created. So yes, a small bit of ego, but that's what I'm not looking for any financial gain whatsoever. So what's next? Obviously, I'd like to get some commitment or get the right person in Google to commit to a team of volunteers. I'll work with them. We'll create a minimum viable product, go into beta with my selected charities I suggested, maybe get feedback from Google employees who might also want to do it, get a commitment to support the system, and go live globally as soon as possible, because people need this as much as thing. Now, I'm not going to go into any details in this slide, but this basically gives a table, so you can pause it here. What I want to say is thank you very much for your time. I hope this is something that you find interesting and useful, and hopefully we can get Google to take this on board and work and create a global phenomenon that does some immense good for the world and helps those less fortunate than ourselves. Thank you.